you have a way to tell if people are watching on YouTube, Pam?
I can tell, but nobody's on yet. I'm signing in right now.
It shows that we're live on YouTube, but it doesn't show me anything else.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Hi,
Gary.
Gary.
Hi, Gary.
My apology for being a couple minutes late. We have everybody ready to go.
Except for JT.
There you
Reed,
go.
I saw you walking down School Street with your wife today.
Oh, was that me, Gary?
Yeah,
Yes, that was us. Yeah,
Were
we
you
usually
headed-
take a walk. These days, we've been taking a walk at lunchtime.
good
around
for
the
you.
block. Perfect day for it.
Yeah, it was a great day.
Hey, JT.
Hey, Reed. Wouldn't let me in. I had to update it.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Nothing is simple these days.
Well,
Is Mike Crowley there?
Yep.
Yes.
Just didn't see him. Okay, then I will call the Village of Victor Board of Trustees meeting for June 1st, 2020 to order. And we will rise and let's let Mike, Deputy Mayor Mike Crowley, recite the pledge to the flag for us while we rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike.
My pleasure.
Okay, first on our agenda tonight is the clerk's report.
I have a resolution to accept the meeting minutes from our May 18th meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mike to accept. Is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Second by Bob. Any discussion on the minutes?
Mike had me make some minor changes to it that were a little more gentle, I guess we can call it. But anyway, they're all just minor changes, so.
Okay. All right, if there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
And I have a resolution to accept the payment of bills, abstract number 1.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Carol,
I'll second that.
second by Michelle. Any discussion on the abstract? I just have one point. There were 2 charges from MRB. There were actually 3 charges, but 2 of them. And it was abstract number 65, invoice number 65. Total was $472.50. And one of those was for 2 East Main Street. The other was for Dorchester Park, which is, I believe, part of the town's development there. So we must have had JP review that. I don't know, JT, would he be reviewing the storm sewer and all that kind of thing?
For the Dorchester one, it would be just the sanitary sewer because it's in our district.
Okay,
The 2 East Main one is nothing really serious. He just reviewed a few things, had a few comments on it.
so I just bring it up because those 2 charges will be back charged to the developers. Okay, is there any other discussion or comments on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
And that's all I have.
Wow, that was quick and easy.
Yep.
Now that we're partway through the meeting, I probably ought to welcome the public, should they be out there watching, listening on YouTube. If you are out there, we're glad you're part of the meeting. And if you have any comments, you can, I believe, chat them in, or is it text them in, Pam?
There's a little area where they type them in.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Director of Public Works. Ben Turner.
Just a couple project updates. So we finished the sewer line over on Coble Street. We got one more clean out to do to the very house that ends up towards Jacob's Landing. And then we're gonna box it out, let it settle for a couple, 3 weeks, and then pave it. Or just put binder down for a while. So I sent out, or Pam sent you guys part of my budget request forms last Friday. And we got that $40,400 in there for the Adams Street pavement. I'd like to switch that over to East Street. The only reason why is East Street is from Coble to Maple is really, really bad shape. And I'd like to pave it all the way into Jacob's Landing or the beginning of Ellis Street. So I just want to use that money for that paving this year. And that'll happen in August.
John, is that just for paving? It's not gutters or anything like that?
No, it's just resurfacing.
Yeah. And you and I've talked before, and I believe we talked in a board meeting that you feel Adams Street is okay for now.
Yeah, until we figure out what's going on with, you know, the grant that Carol and those guys are working on. I don't know where we stand with that right now, but you know, there's no sense of putting money into that if, you know, something comes down the pike where we get a grant to do some improvements over in that area.
Right.
As far as I know right now, John, is the grant, we still haven't heard anything from the state that they're even gonna fund it this year.
Well, I would be really surprised if they did, Carol. The only reason why is
too.
talking with my highway guys. And we did our chip sealing today, and most of the county highway guys have backed off because Cuomo won't even release the CHIPS money letter
Right.
yet for them. So a lot of these people are hurting real bad right now. So.
Yeah. No, I assumed that we wouldn't see anything this year. But that's-
Okay, sounds like a plan, JT.
So we're going to, like I say, we're gonna finish up. We did the oiling and stoning today. And we're gonna finish a bunch of odds and ends up in the next couple weeks. And then move to more Ave. But I just want to get that on the docket, just because the paving crew might be in here to patch that in a couple weeks.
And you'll be putting the binder down like right away after you,
Yeah, we're gonna I called the paving company and they're supposed to be coming in to finish up some of the trunk work for the trails where they put the trunk line in.
right?
While they're here, so maybe I could save a few bucks. I'm gonna have them just pave it while they're right in the vicinity.
That would be great.
Other than that, I don't have anything else, I don't think, unless you want to review 30 Rothbury.
Yeah, we could talk for a minute about that. 30 Rothbury is the gentleman that wants to build the bridge, right?
Yep,
Over the drainage easement that the village has, actually over the
Right.
pond, a portion of the pond itself. I know Marty's been involved, has looked at the situation and has informed, I believe he has informed the resident, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's informed the resident of what will be required in order for him to proceed. And number one, the gentleman probably needs to come before our board to ask permission to put this structure in the easement. And it would require, he doesn't have a building permit yet for it. He's already started, unfortunately, but doesn't have a building permit. He also needs a floodplain permit. And what else? Oh, he needs stamped engineering plans, right, John?
yep, for Marty.
Yeah, so we have not heard anything as of yet from the resident. Only, whatever discussion Marty had with him. So maybe we'll know tomorrow. Marty will be in again tomorrow if there's anything new on that. But if the board's in agreement, I would say he should come before us to ask for permission to do that. And then it's up to us to figure out whether we want to allow it or not. And Reed would be involved in some kind of written agreement that explains to the resident, what his responsibilities would be and what the rights of the village would be pertaining to that easement.
Yep,
Okay, so my only concern with that is what I heard last meeting was nobody thought it was a good idea.
No.
So we're gonna have this guy do all this prep work. And I mean, I will vote no. So,
Yeah, so Mike, to your point, and John told me this afternoon, he should come to the village board before he does all the other prep work. And if he really wants to pursue it and get a feel for whether this board supports it or not.
okay.
Is that along the lines of what you're thinking?
Well, yeah, before he pays for stamp drawing and everything else, I think he
Right.
should get a flavor of what's going on.
So JT, will you be seeing Marty tomorrow?
yeah, I'll talk to him.
You could just
Like
run
it.
that.
Yeah, I'll run that by him, and if Marty, if he has contact with the guy, I'll just tell him, and before anything happens, he needs to come to the village board and talk to, get your approvals. I don't, I can't see him going through all that headaches just to build a bridge over it, for his kids to walk, but I've seen crazier things done too. But you
Yeah.
gotta remember too, we've granted 3 or 4 property owners up there rights to put fences up in our easements. So like I say, if he gets wind of that, I'm just throwing it out there that, we've had that 2 or 3 property owners that back right up to that trail they wanted to put fence up there so the people, you know, can't look in their backyards while they're walking on that trail, so.
Yeah, I just don't think that's apples and oranges.
I don't think so either, Mike. What he's doing is, like I say, he's building, if something ever happened, he's building the dams, what's happening.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that could come loose from its foundation and clog the whole drainage system up there.
Right, and when he goes for his flood zone permit, you know, and it's engineered, if he did come back with the proper stamps, he's gonna have to build it like a regular bridge that for 100 years flood, you know, so it might be 8 feet out of the ground or 6 feet out of the ground, not just laying on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, good information. So see what Marty has to say tomorrow. And I think one discussion I had with Marty did make it understandable to him, to this gentleman, that this is not an easy process and it's not a done deal. So I guess we'll wait to see what we hear from him.
Right. That's all I really got, Gary.
Okay, thanks, John. Anybody have any questions or anything for JT before we move on? If not, trustee reports. Carol, looks like you might be up first if you're ready.
Okay, sure. We have a resolution to appoint Daniel O'Brien to the Urban Renewal Agency. I've talked to him about this. I let him know that we were going to be doing this tonight. He's very willing to come on board with us.
Sounds good. Did you say before, when you brought this up before, that he may have some kind of time issue as far as committing to?
Well, he wanted to know, you know, when our meetings were. Right now, he is working some at night, but he said if he had enough notice that he could, you know, make himself available.
Yeah,
When I notify him about this, he thought he would have to attend our meeting tonight. And he said, I didn't think we had a meeting till July.
yeah.
So, but he's already got the July and October meetings on his calendar and.
Great. And did you make him aware that there might be special meetings in between occasionally?
Yes.
Yeah,
he did.
sounds good.
So, do I read the resolution or does?
Sure, that'd be great. That would be great.
Resolved that the Village Board of Trustees appoints Daniel O'Brien to the Urban Renewal Agency for a term of 3 years expiring in April 2023.
Is there a motion?
I'll make
I'll
that
make a
motion.
Holy mackerel.
They're all on it.
I think Michelle
Bob
started
beat me.
that.
Oh,
Did Bob
whatever.
beat me? Okay,
Give it to
motion by
Bob.
Bob and a second by Michelle.
There you go.
Any further discussion on Daniel's appointment?
Carol, where does he live?
He's the one at, he's 165 South High Street across from the school.
Oh, okay.
Right across from the south entrance there.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? None. Motion carries.
The only other thing I was going to mention, I was reading the LDC minutes from April, and I saw that Chris Caruana resigned, so they have an opening on the board if anybody's interested. I haven't seen an ad for it yet.
I don't know if I knew Chris.
He's the
What?
one, his wife had the Climbing Vines Cafe
Okay, yeah,
by 650.
okay.
And
Unfortunately, that place is closed, right?
yes, they closed it. They still have one, I think on the west side of the city somewhere. But he sounded like, before I left, he sounded like they might be going back to Buffalo. That's where they're from originally.
Boy, I thought he had a pretty good business going there with climbing vines. It's too bad.
Well, and on his own too, he had things going.
Yeah.
Anyway, just thought I'd bring that up, if anybody's interested.
All right. Thanks.
That's it.
Bob, do you want to go next?
Sure. The planning board met last Wednesday and they approved a site plan modification for 2 East Main Street. Sweet Basil's Restaurant is going in the cobblestone building at 2 East Main Street. So I think the issues that were talked about were the fact that there's only one entrance, but the fact that it is seating for 40 people or 45 people was just under the 50 that would have required that they have 2 means of entrance to it. And the other issue was where their dumpster is going to be, and the fact that they've worked out a deal to put it out with the other 2 dumpsters. It's just looking at the building. I mean, it's a beautiful building. It sits right in the middle of our village, but as a place to have a business, and especially a restaurant, is really a tough location. I hope the people do well with it, but it will be tough. And even just getting around, both for parking and for getting to the dumpster, will be difficult. And even drop-offs of food, have deliveries. There's just no place except through the front door. So
Yeah.
it was approved, and we just wish them the best of luck.
Yeah, and hopefully the dumpster situation will help. It is a ways away from the building, that's the issue, but at
If
least
they had a back, if they had a back door to it or something, some easy way to get out and get to it, but they're gonna have to go down, walk down Main Street and around. Yeah, it's just gonna be hard for them.
right. And I believe, I don't know if it was mentioned in the planning board meeting, but I believe the tenants will also be using the dumpster for their,
That was mentioned, yes.
which I
hope
personally
that
like the
works
idea.
out.
Personally, I like the idea of that, getting it off of Maple Avenue, so our packer and the guys don't have to stop on Maple Avenue there.
No, you're right. It's looking at, there's just no space around that building anywhere.
Truly a landlocked situation.
Yeah. But that's it. It was approved, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed that it goes well.
All right, thanks, Bob. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Before I let you go, Bob, between you and Carol, maybe is the DRI grant process still going forward? Do you know?
I don't think anybody knows for sure. I mean, we're continuing as if, I don't know if I should speak for you, Carol. I think we're continuing as if there's a chance that it would go forward, but I don't think anybody thinks it's likely to.
Right.
But has the application itself been placed yet? Because it was supposed to be at the end of the month.
Well, we can't, because we have to wait to hear from the state that they're accepting applications.
Okay, so they have not said they are.
They've always made the announcement at the beginning of May, and it was due at the end of the May. There's been no announcement yet this year.
Okay, all right.
So
Thank you. That's kind of what I was looking for.
But we'll have it ready if they do make an announcement.
All right, thanks, Carol, Bob. Michelle, anything?
Yeah, I'll go. So I had a library meeting, and basically they were hoping to have the staff back in the library around June 15th. And that would be basically to clean and prep and kind of get the library ready. And then they anticipate, or hope, I should say, that they will start a curbside pickup around the end of the month, so around June 29th. So they're really kind of focusing in on that and when they can kind of get it back to the new normal. And they're kind of following the PLS lead on how everything's to be done. They did talk about, the vote that we all know is coming up. They've got ads coming out. Mike, they mentioned you about the info session. So you got a shout out in that meeting for helping out with that. They're trying to do a summer reading program. And then, I'm trying to think what else. Oh, then towards the end of the meeting, after I went, Tim kind of talked to them about the reverter clause. And has anybody heard anything from Tim or Jim since that last meeting?
So I spoke with Tim. I believe he called me, or I may have called him just to tell him, talk to him about it. And the only news at the time was how pleased they were, and that they would be attempting to move forward. And now they felt they had what they needed in hand to move forward, but I haven't heard anything since then.
Okay. So the only reason I ask is that a couple of the board members, when Tim was kind of reading it to them, they don't like the wording of a couple of things because they feel like they have to have our approval. So let's say this 10 East Main falls apart. They don't feel that it's our place to tell them what that next building would be. And they went around and round on this. So I don't know what happened because they kind of tabled it and they were going to talk about it in their executive session. So I tried to spin it, and tell them, look, it's just a courtesy thing, right? I mean, but a couple of them were like, well, you're making it sound like the URA has to approve our next site. And so we'll see what they say, but it was, what should have been a quick, thank you, move along kind of thing. There was that, don't get me wrong. They were very appreciative and all that, but they were getting caught up, I think, in semantics. And I think, in my opinion, over analyzing the semantics of it, but Tim and Jim, that's why I was asking if Tim or Jim had reached out to Carol or to Gary or anybody.
Not at this time.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
hopefully they can work through that.
Yeah. So, and I think that is all I have.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yep.
Mike, anything?
I don't have anything of true value, but I think we need to consider passing a law to kill this bird squawker at the funeral home and any other future bird squawker. So, I mean, it's absolutely, it's ridiculous.
Well, maybe it's time to look into the whole premise of that was the issue with the pigeons and so forth. And now at 2 East Main, the nettings on top of the building to prevent them from nesting there, which is where we assume they were coming from. Maybe it's time to investigate whether there's been an improvement in the situation. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, that's not the approach I'm looking for. I'm looking for that's ridiculous. And they shouldn't have it and nobody should have it in the village. If Anthony Siciliano had that, you would be having to visit me in prison. So it's ridiculous.
Well,
The truth of the matter is I don't care about their bird problem as it relates to this squawker?
You're welcome to go talk to Mr. Jarmuth if you want.
Oh, absolutely.
And get his perspective on it, and then let us know what the result of that discussion is.
I think also there was something about a month ago when Doug was here, there's a barn that sits right next to him. I don't know the property owner, but that's where a lot of the pigeons it's headed to after 2 East Main was done. So, and I think Doug sent him a letter or a violation too.
You mean Cordero's barn
Yep.
next to the bank parking lot?
Yep.
Okay, well,
I
at
mean,
some point,
I can talk to Marty and see if anything's in the files on it.
yeah, I was gonna say at some point, Marty gets caught up, we can take a look at the file and go from there. I mean, I hear you, Mike. I don't love it either.
But the point of the matter is the way it is now, anybody could put one of those up.
Well, I don't know why they would want to do that, but
I don't know why he wants to do it,
well, he can explain that to you.
but that doesn't mean he should have the right to do it.
No, but it's already done.
And
So,
we can make a law that says you can't do it.
yeah, we could, but it doesn't mean that that does anything to, he already has one, so,
That doesn't mean he gets to keep it.
well, I don't know, Mike. I don't know how to resolve that tonight.
Well, does anybody else feel my way that that's a ridiculous thing that shouldn't exist? Because if I'm the only one, I'll just put it to bed.
It's not,
Much to notice it.
it's not anything, that I don't think anybody really likes, but it was understood at the time when he put it up that there was a problem with his business trying to coexist with the pigeons. And in lieu of us getting involved in, financing some kind of solution, which is what he wanted us to do, Doug went down the path of research and found that was one of the things he found in his research and made the suggestion to Mr. Jarmuth, and he purchased it and installed it. So that's basically the history I remember on it.
All right.
Anything else, Mike?
Nope.
Okay, I got a few things here. I know there's nothing on my report on the agenda, and there usually isn't. And I apologize, but things happen along the way. So I just can't have them all ahead of time. So just a couple of quick things. Victor Central School District's looking to honor class of 2020 in whatever way they can. They've come to me to talk about possibly the village's involvement in that in different ways. One would be, so these are just suggestions, a proclamation, which I think we could easily do. And their senior bash committee is working with Brian Siesto, the senior high principal. They haven't made a final decision, I think, as of today yet, on how graduation is going to occur, whether it's going to be virtual or some other means, but they're talking about like a parade up at school of cars and honoring the graduates on the campus. And then they're looking, could it be extended down into the village to bring community together in support of the graduates? And all I told them was that I would look into the situation. And I also told them, as of right now, there's no large gatherings allowed. So that could be a difficult situation, even though they're proposing it for the end of June. Since everything else that you can think of that's a large gathering's been canceled, regardless of the date. it could be a challenge to get the state or whomever to agree. And we would have to get the state involved because if they're gonna drive down onto Main Street, just like the Memorial Day Parade, then that's an issue right there with the DOT. So anyways, no decisions on it. I just want to let you know that I'm having some discussions with them. Michelle mentioned the budget vote. Both the school district and the library vote has gone out in the ballots. You may have received your ballots already. And they are due back by June 9th. Just want to remind the public of that as well as the board. It's primarily by mail-in. I believe there will be a couple of drop boxes on the district campus where you can physically take it and drop it, but as of right now, I didn't see them there today. Next, Rob Anderson sent an email out, and I can't remember, Pam, did he copy the whole board? So he sent an email out about the renewal of our insurance policy. Mike, have you had a look at that at all? So,
Sorry, I read it. It went to you, me, and Diane.
okay. So basically, in a nutshell, step in at any time, Mike. It's going to go up a couple $1,000, $2,300, $2,400 due to the, what is it, the claim loss ratio or whatever that they use.
Yeah, the loss experience.
At least for this year.
Did they justify what the claim loss was? Buckavecki's?
No, I think it's more, the way I read it, JT, it was more your guys. It was, 'cause they take a 5-year look. So 20 claims filed, 16 paid. Poor loss ratio driven by 17, 18, and 16, 17 years. The experience rating. If the positive trend is maintained, it will drive the experience rating factor lower as years 17 and 18 and 16, 17 drop off. I would imagine the Buckavecki claim wouldn't even be calculated because I don't think any payments were made.
Not in those years, right?
So
So
have they been paid anything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did I miss that?
He got a settlement for, I don't know what it was, 225,000.
So
Yeah. I believe our contribution through Selective was in the $35,000 range.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
But that might be reflected in next year's, right, Mike? Because they look at,
it typically looks when it paid out.
okay,
Yeah, I didn't mean to, I shouldn't have said that, John. I read drive experience as driving experience, but yeah. I mean, 16, 17 was a big year. So
was that like the fire truck issue? And
I'd say that was a fire truck, right?
I would imagine, because it's a 732% claim to loss ratio, so.
and then we had, well, not in 16 or 17, but we had the issue with Neil Cotton's house and the live burn next to it. And so we've had a few issues.
That was probably in the 17, 18 term,
Okay.
because it goes our budget cycle, so.
So it's going to go up for this budget year, and we're going to hope for better next year.
I mean, the increase is $2,300 and change.
Yeah,
So, you know, I don't, in today's environment, I don't think that's horribly bad.
I agree. I agree, because one year I remember it going up 3 times that.
Yeah, and when you take that into effect too, I mean, what Rob also notes, and I'm sorry, I thought everybody got this, or I would have forwarded it out. What Rob also notes is that they've increased the property values 4% on our buildings and 2% on our personal property. So they are actually insuring more. So in essence, the 2372 increase is really cheap, I think.
All right, thanks, Mike. Next, Wednesday, the 20th, Reed was the lucky winner to sit with me on a call with Jewel regarding the CCA. And it was a lengthy call and quite the educational experience on the energy supply contract agreement. What all came out of that? I mean, there were lots of questions and answers provided, and it was Reed and myself, Jules' attorney, and Jules' vice president, Glenn Weinberg. And it turned out to be a pretty good call. The previous call that I was supposed to sit in on and totally missed because of my ineptness with my scheduling, that included all of the Monroe County people who are possibly going to be in on this bid. And I would have been sitting in on that along with Canandaigua, who did sit in on that. I'm actually very thankful and grateful that I didn't, because this was hard enough with just the 4 of us on this call. I can't imagine what it was like for all of those people and their attorneys to vet that agreement out on a phone call. So I think Reed and I got the better end of that stick, actually. Maybe Reed doesn't agree, but
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And they had it all sorted out, so it was just a matter of, dealing with any questions or concerns we had. It was a much better way to go.
yeah, the issues were just a few, really, rather than line by line the whole agreement. I can let Reed speak for himself about how he feels about it, but basically, now I think it was today or over the weekend, I got an email saying that, Michelle, I think you got it as well from Sue, Rocktricity, saying that Monroe County has decided when they go out to bid that they want to bid just for solar for their CCA. They don't want to include regular, what do you call it, traditional energy pricing. And Jewel calls it brown energy versus solar, so versus clean energy. So there was a lot of discussion around that, I guess, between the Monroe County people and Jewel, and because Jewel can set it up where you can bid for solar pricing, you can bid for brown pricing, and you can also bid for a combination and offer all 3 options in your municipality to your residents. And the discussion was, how many people really are looking for brown, how many are looking, it seems like a complicated process to have all 3 options. So the Monroe County people have simplified it to go with solar, and that's the ultimate goal of the CCA anyways. So I think that's really about the last decision for us to make. If we're okay with just clean energy for our CCA pricing. I have a little bit of mixed emotions saying maybe somebody is going to get a cheaper rate with brown energy, but there's no guarantee of that. There's no guarantee with any of this. But to reach the goal of clean energy, that the governor's passed by law, quicker we get to solar energy, the better, I guess, is how I would put it. Reed, do you have anything to add, or?
No, just a point of clarification. When you say solar, Gary, you're really referring to any renewable energy source.
Yes.
So it would include
Hydro.
Wind.
wind. Yeah, exactly. Basically, I mean, my take on what they're saying is that, you know, their program is sort of set up as aggregating communities to negotiate for pricing altogether, and their emphasis is on renewable energy sources. So we can provide to our citizens an opportunity to check the box and, well, I don't care at all about renewable, but I really feel like, you know, my pricing ought to be negotiated on a community-wide basis. And my take on their response to it, which made all sense in the world to me, was that's just going to confuse people. And it doesn't offer much. But I don't think there's going to be any question that it is going to be a cheaper option. The real issue is it significantly cheaper? And the answer to that is probably not, probably very marginal. That's my take.
Yeah, that frames it pretty well. And again, I agree that if you offer those other options, it's going to further confuse people as to what the CCA program really is about, and how to navigate that and make a decision as a resident, whether you want to participate in it or not. So I don't know if anybody on the board have any comments on it.
Just a question on, Reed, on your comment. You said is renewable energy going to be cheaper than, no?
No,
It's gonna be more
renewable is going to be more expensive. This is just going to, when they talk about going the two different routes, this would be an option that every individual resident would have. They could opt to go with the current utility company. They could opt to go with community aggregation, but only in a renewable product, or they could opt to go in the community negotiation, but not limiting it to renewable. So when you don't limit it to renewable, the price is going to go down because it's going to be a little bit more competitive on a dollar basis.
But to your point, Reed, not necessarily significantly less.
Correct. And the people would always have their opportunity to just stick with the utility if they really don't care at all about renewable.
Does that answer your question, Bob?
probably as much as it can be answered right now. I guess we'll see. I mean, that's what it will come down to, is what the rate is that they're going to offer, what they negotiate, and how that compares to what we've been paying for RG&E right along. But I'm fine with going with all, giving the alternative of all green energy. That's fine with me.
Well, if nobody has any real objections to that, I will pass that information on to Rocktricity and to Jewel. I noticed in the paper, in the Daily Messenger over the weekend, there was an ad for Gateway Community Power. And it was the city of Canandaigua using our Gateway name, because basically they've become part of us, if you will. They've kind of joined the process a little bit behind us, quite a bit behind us, and behind the Monroe people too. They've just gotten on board just very recently. But at first I was a little taken aback when I saw it, but the bottom line is the more the merrier when it comes to price, and when it comes to effectively changing to clean energy. That's the answer right there, is getting people involved and getting the attitude of the public to understand that this is the way we're headed in New York State, and really a good share of the country. I think that Glenn, I think, told us on the phone that by 2023, Governor Cuomo's looking for a pretty high percentage of clean energy. It seemed to me it was, Reed, in the 60 to 70%.
That strikes me as correct. I honestly don't remember the number, but it was striking.
And then by 2050, which I guess I'm not going to really worry about, but by 2050, 100% renewable energy is apparently by law. So unless somebody changes that in the meantime. So, you know, it's an aggressive program, and I personally believe it's a good thing. So if we're in agreement to go along with what Monroe Community Power is saying and stick to the option of renewable and not confuse the matter, I'll pass that information on. Quick thing, couple more things. I don't want to take too long here. 80 East Main Street and the proposed land donation. Thanks to Reed and JT and Paul Coker, it's moved along, and we're very close to getting this done. And I think we're waiting for the actual survey paperwork from Paul Coker. Once we get that, Reed, do you have to put together a legalese so that it can be officially filed with the county?
Yeah, we'll do the recording papers and deed and so forth. It'll have to be circulated for signatures.
And you have to do that before the donation? Or after?
The paperwork that I do is gonna be the way they do the donation.
Okay. So could we, I guess my question is, could we have Nathan come to a board meeting and officially offer the donation, and we pass a resolution to accept the donation prior to your paperwork being filed, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, no, he could offer the donation and we could agree to accept it before I draft the paperwork, or,
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
So maybe we may make the June 15th deadline for our next meeting then, possibly. If so, is the paperwork going to come to you, Reed, or is it coming to us, Pam? Do you know?
I'm going to prepare it. Paul's going to give me the information that I need, and then I'll draft the document.
Okay. So when you get the survey,
That's all I'm going to need. Well, he's going to give me a survey and a boundary line description.
so when you get that, would you let Pam know? So if it's in time, we can add Nathan to the agenda for the 15th.
Sure.
Thanks, Reed. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Then we'll just have to wait till July 6th, I think, is the next meeting. But it would be nice.
I'll send I'll send Paul a reminder tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, JT. Last thing, the code enforcement agreement. I have tried to finalize this agreement before I left on the 22nd. I think it was the 22nd or 21st. Was not able to get through to Kim and Barb Cole. So I got a phone call from Jack. It wasn't the friendliest phone call, but I explained to him that this isn't a fight about the agreement. This is about an agreement. And we need to negotiate the agreement, and we have 2 or 3 concerns that need to be taken care of. And so he kind of sort of understood that. And he said, well, I guess focus on your trip and take care of it when you get back. So that's what I hope to do tomorrow. I know I have an appointment with Barb Cole at 11 a.m. and I'm hoping to see Kim after that if she's available and get this done. And the concerns that I'm bringing to them are, and you guys chime in if I'm missing something. I'm going to talk to Barb about the rate and get their rationale for the rate and show them, show Barb our rationale provided by Diane. Secondly, going to discuss the early termination of the agreement, be it 30 days versus 60 days, which I don't think we'll have a problem with that one. And then the third thing that I'm going to discuss with Kim will be hours. And, you know, we only had Marty for 8 hours. And we're already feeling a pinch, and I know he is, with time, and things really haven't ramped up fully yet. So that's probably going to get worse, not better. So I just want to get clear in my mind what the option will be going forward for hours for him. And can we negotiate more hours now? Marty has an idea of how many. I mean, we're talking between 4 and 8 hours. So those are the three things I'm going to discuss with them tomorrow. If anybody has any comments or suggestions, feel free. And if not, that's all I have. Reed, do you have anything else?
I have nothing new.
Anybody else have any other business?
Farmers Market Wednesday.
Farmers market starts Wednesday. Hi, so you got your hand washing station ready to go?
Yep.
That's awesome. Is that going to be near the shed?
Yeah, we're gonna set a table up outside of the shed and then just leave it in there the whole time. And Amber can bring it out when she needs it. It's gonna be a trial and error thing first, couple weeks, because the weather's not supposed to be that great this Wednesday, but we'll just see what happens. We talked about maybe fencing it off so we can control some of the people, but we gotta get the vendors there first, see what happens.
Yeah. Pam, I think you and JT have both told me that you feel like Amber is on top of this and
Definitely.
yeah, and they have signage and things.
Yep.
Encourage the protocol, safety protocol. That's great. All right, looking forward to it. Some little bit of sense of normalcy. I think the residents will be happy too. So that's it. If nobody else has anything else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Bob,
Second.
second by Carol. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And there's never any opposition to that motion, is there? Okay, to the public, if you're out there, thanks for tuning in, and I believe we'll be back again, right, Pam?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Everybody have a good evening.
All right. Be
Night,
safe,
all. Be
everyone.
safe.
Yep, same to everybody else.
Thank you, Pam.
Yep, you're welcome.